The IRS is, of course, screwing people over again. So 80% of new IRS revenue will apparently come from small businesses earning under $200,000, according to tax experts. And by the way, earning, right, doesn't mean that that's what you're making in profit. Okay? So small business owners may soon be in for a lengthy and expensive battle with the IRS, tax experts warn. A key provision in the Inflation Reduction Act, which throws an extra $80 billion to the IRS to improve the agency's collection of underreported income, will end up targeting small business owners to pay for the legislation, according to the nonpartisan watchdog, the Joint Committee on Taxation. Which, by the way, like, the biggest problem that I see with this is like, what type of businesses were completely smacked around during the lockdowns? Small businesses. Every single small business pretty much was smacked around by the government, right? And so you're going to end up screwing over the remaining small businesses. Like, that's just so crazy. So the group estimates that between 78% and 90% of the estimated additional 200 billion the IRS will collect will come from small businesses making less than $200,000 annually. By the way, isn't it crazy how you're going to try to tax these small businesses while at the same time you're still constantly printing more and more money? So just 4% to 9% would come from businesses making north of $500,000 a year, meaning that the legislation is in sharp contrast to President Biden's long-standing claim that he wouldn't raise taxes on anyone making less than $400,000. And by the way, you could technically have like a small business, like an LLC or whatever, or even a sole proprietorship, and make under 200,000 and still end up getting taxed this, right? Like, there's like people who are like their own like construction business, their own lawn care business, their own tutoring business, right? Their own cleaning business, which a lot of minorities end up getting involved in, their own restaurant business. It's like, it's just sad, right? It's just really, really sad. So the IRS will have to target small and medium businesses because they won't fight back. Joe Hinchman, executive vice president at National Taxpayers Union Foundation, told the Post. We've seen this play out before. The IRS says, we're going after the rich, but when you're trying to raise that much money, the rich can only get you so far. Not to mention, there's a lot of loopholes for the uber rich that have billions of dollars to not really necessarily have to pay the taxes because a lot of them don't even actually have an income. So, in fact, going after the lower and middle class can actually be more lucrative for IRS auditors than trying to get more money from the wealthy. The rich have their lawyers and fight it. That's why the poor are easier to go after, Hinchman adds. Accordingly, tax experts warn that the IRS audits will be far more painful and costly for small business owners, even for those who think they're filing their taxes correctly. Most small business aren't doing anything wrong, Daniel Bunn, executive vice president at the Tax Foundation, told the Post. We don't make the tax code simple, and the complicated tax code makes it difficult for small business owners to comply with all the requirements. Even if small business owners get everything right, they may still be faced with a headache since part of the IRS expansion will involve sending out more notices and letters to businesses, bun ads. For individual contractors or small businesses, an IRS letter that they owe more money or made an error on their taxes can put them underwater. Anytime you get an IRS letter, it could take months or years to get it settled. We're talking many thousands of dollars to address. Bun added, large companies have constant reviews and lawyers going through everything, and small business doesn't have the resources to fight back in the way. The White House has dismissed claims the bill will hurt lower and middle income Americans, instead noting the JCT estimate doesn't take into account how much the bill will offset costs for average Americans like prescription drugs. But tax experts aren't so sanguine about the reality of giving the IRS more resources. The approach here is to double the IRS workforce, take the leash off, and see how much they can collect, Henchman adds. I think they'll collect it, but it will be quite painful. So let's see some of the comments on this because you know there's probably going to be a bunch. Yep. So the pandemic killed many small businesses and weakened even more. This bill is the coup de grace, the kill shot. More for oligarchs and monopolists. We will have to use Amazon for everything and pay by credit card. Don't anger the oligarchs or they will cut you off and you will starve. Total control over everything is what they seek, and it seems they are getting their way. It will be a nightmare for anyone with income. Correction, a taxable income. Oligarchs do not pay anything close to what they should, so the working poor and middle classes will have to pay more. Our politicians prefer placating oligarchs. I see Congress has not raised the capital gains tax to 28% after Trump cut it to 20% and raised the salt tax level to 80K from 10K that Trump capped. Also, if Biden wants to do away with China tariffs, what does all of that tell you? Go oligarchs. Taxpayer to the IRS auditor. I have given you all my details, invoices, travel logs, auto mileage records, entertainment receipts. Why do you think I overstated my deductions and owe $15,000? Auditor to taxpayer. Well, my supervisor instructed me that such documentation is meaningless. You are afraid of us and you will comply just to make us go away and not delve deeper into your personal lives. This is what the IRS has been and will continue to get worse. Like Ronald Reagan said, the 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. 40% of the FDA budget comes from pharma, so why shouldn't the IRS trash small biz at the behest of woke mega corps? Next, they'll be penalizing you for gun ownership or supporting 2A. Flat tax ends 90% of the fraud. Politicians won't do it as usual as they need the corruption and manipulation to drive for them. Like for me personally, I think the tax system is so overly complicated. I feel like if you made it so that every single person could not take any of these like exemptions or like workarounds, no loopholes or anything, is that whatever you make, you pay like 10% in tax. That's it. Flat tax. How much you make, right? Now, of course, people are still going to try to like screw around with that. They're going to be like, oh, all of our income was actually in like the form of loans, blah, 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 blah. We could possibly do some sort of legislation to change that because the problem that a lot of people don't understand is that a lot of these billionaires, the way that there's like 2 ways that they really do not pay taxes. One, they did pay taxes at one point by selling a good portion of their stock at one time. Well, at least not a good portion, but like a hefty sum to the average human being. So let's say that, I don't know, let's just use like Mark Zuckerberg as an example. Let's say that he sold stock one time and took a profit of like $50 million, right? Okay, he pays the taxes on that profit at like a really small percentage because it's capital gains, and then never has to sell anything for the rest of his life and still live a very nice life, right? He could technically have no income for the rest of his life and never pay income tax ever again for the rest of his life, right? Or you could do more so like a Elon Musk method, which he has used for most of his time being a billionaire, is that you basically take loans against the assets that you own. So typically he will take like loans against his equity stakes of his companies and live off of that loan that basically he was given by these big companies. And a lot of the times he ends up like investing a portion of the loans that he got into other companies or ventures that ends up making him technically more money. So basically it's like the equivalent of him basically getting like a $10 million loan, living off of 2 million, investing the 8 million, and investing the 8 million to basically make another 20 million in terms of like increase in net worth. So technically, he was able to increase his net worth by a very large margin while at the same time not taking any income but still living the life of a multi billionaire in a sense, right? Like that's basically the way that they go about it. So, technically speaking, a lot of these billionaires, if they really wanted to, could pretty much never pay taxes for the rest of their lives, depending on how they manage their money, right? So basically, the government doesn't really have any option other than to go after small businesses because they completely screw up everything. But if you basically had like a flat tax with no loopholes, no ways to go around it, just simple, bam, it'd make one, businesses, big businesses, more likely to pay taxes because it's less complicated, it's simple, they know exactly what they're paying, and if it's cheap enough compared to other countries or states, then they're going to be more inclined to go through that process. If you want to learn how to get out of debt and master your money, go to 40inbox.com.